Run something called iceaddis, which ICE stands for Innovation, Collaboration, and Enterprise. It's an innovation hub that helps community members take their ideas into fruition, and it's been open since May of 2011. A little bit like Ubud, but it sounds a whole lot cooler. And tonight he's going to talk about tech in Africa. Markos Lemma.
It's great to be here. It's also great to be in Bali. It seems like it's very far from everywhere, which is a good thing. So very unfortunate lion trapped in a very unfortunate situation somewhere in Africa. Chased by a group of buffaloes, and he's actually escaping for his life. Yeah? My name is Markos. I'm, like as Peter says, came from Ethiopia, which is in Africa, in East Africa. We have our own language, like everywhere else. So what I call myself is like a storyteller. I really like the new narrative of Africa story, and I also call myself a techie. So on this picture, as you can see, The Economist magazine, which is a very famous magazine, I hope everybody knows it, published an article which called the whole continent, very bold statements, call it the hopeless continent. This is in 2000. It's very, very bold. Africa portrayed as a corruption and poverty continent. But after a while, the same magazine portrayed it as Africa is raising, with a kid, a very colorful kid running around in Africa and aspiring Africa. So what happened exactly? Why the economists actually changed their mind so fast? But just because it's very close to my subject, I'm gonna only mention two things. The first thing is the mobile technology, which is really transforming African economy. In Africa right now, it's like 80% of people have subscribed to mobile phones, so there's a very good knowledge of operating a mobile phone. In Uganda, for instance, there is more mobile phone than light bulbs. So to give you an example, Ushahidi is one of the disaster mapping from Nairobi, which actually people use it in Haiti and Japan earthquake, as well as in other places. And iCow is putting your cow on the cloud. On the internet. And M-Pesa is microfinancing mobile money, which is actually starting from Africa, from Kenya, and now widespread all over the world, becoming actually one of a good example for people to connect to financial systems. This one is not a very pretty picture though. It's ECX, Ethiopian Commodity Exchange. They have like subscribers for more than 11 million farmers in Ethiopia. They actually get like very updated information every time from the internet, pushing by the ECX, the Commodity Exchange offices. So the second thing is innovation hubs, innovation spaces, like on the title of my talk. There are hundreds of like these hubs are mushrooming all over Africa. Like I have in Kenya, most of you probably know, and active spaces in Cameroon, with innovation in Nigeria, and iceaddis from Ethiopia. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about ICE because, you know, where I come from. So when we started iceaddis, we were asking very, very basic questions. Potentials, young people who actually have ideas and who can do something great, where shall they go if they have the ideas, you know? So there are no really places to connect people in Ethiopia if you have a great idea to implement those ideas into practices and to realize that great idea. So we come up with this space, iceaddis Innovation Hub. So it's a co-working space. We're working with different tech hubs, tech startups. We're working with different projects. So what we do is like it's a very informal and creative space where people can actually, practice and experiment what they like to do like in the future. On the other hand, it's like we're focusing on small businesses because most businesses in Ethiopia, they're focusing on like maybe one or two people are running these spaces. So we're focusing on very small businesses who wants to do technological startups. How we do that? Like we run different workshops and events and open events. For instance, bar camp, it's called an conference. You know, everyone. It's not like this where important people, kind of talk and the other people listen, but rather like anybody can talk and interact each other. And then also very specific ones like tech for women and stuff like that. On the other hand, we also help people to accelerate their businesses. So we are working with funders, venture capitalists. We're working with Google, Microsoft, like the private sector, and working with different private sector within the country in Ethiopia. So just to leave you like few information, like what's behind innovation spaces, or what's the need for it, even like here in Bali. One thing is should be community oriented, so the community should drive these spaces. So everything should come out from the community perspective. So that's the first and primary perspective we have, or philosophy we have. The second thing is should always come like certain local demands. So we believe that most of the projects we're working on, they are actually meeting the solutions for the local demand. So we are really trying to find local solutions which can be upgraded into international in some way in the future. On the other hand, what we need is also prototyping. So ideas are great, but we need to change them into a practical terms. So we prototype with 3D printers and with laser cutters, so that people can actually have something tangible, something touchable products at the end. On the other side, we also have like the social media, the liking button, but really helps people to promote. To give you an example, for instance, in Ethiopia there is only 25, like the highest circulation magazine is 25,000 for 80 million people, more than 80 million people. So social media is very powerful still to promote products and to connect people. So we are really like helping people to connect with this one. I got this picture actually from the Jakarta Post. It shows like some of the Indonesian connection with Africa, where I think south-to-south communication should be upgraded, because some of the solutions what we propose in Africa can work in Indonesia very well, and vice versa. So I think it's nice to think about that in the long term. So I'm going to leave you with the last quote, which is African proverb says, well, you remember the first slide, right? Until the lions have their historians, tales of the hunt shall always glorify the hunters. Thank you very much.